أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نويت الاعتكاف نويت الأربعين نويت الرياضة نويت العزلة نويت السلوك لله تعالى في هذا المسجد على نيتكم يا مولانا الشيخ حقاني الأسطورة يا سيدي مدد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this verse for us to obey those in authority after Allah and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kullukum ra'in wa mas'ul an ra'iyati." Every one of you is responsible and will be asked and held to account about his those that he was responsible or she was responsible over. So responsible for yourself and then maybe for more than that till it reaches responsible for a whole country. So responsibility is everyone's at different levels, and those that are under the responsibility of someone else, and they owe them a degree of trust and followership. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Obey Allah, obey the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and those in authority among you. Last time we were speaking about tasawwuf and tariqat and in what consists being in tariqah, why we are following tariqah, what it makes us followers of tariqah. And we reached the conclusion that in reality we are on the threshold of love for the awliya and love for the shuyukh of tariqah, but to be one with them, we are not there yet. To be on their path actively, we are not there yet. So there are different levels. It said murid, then below that, because we have not reached muridship, there is musta'id, ready. But musta'id and ready, we have not reached that yet. Musta'id and ready meaning that we have not reached that yet. And there is muhib, lover, that he loves the awliya, he loves the salihin. That, if we can claim that we have reached that yet, I am afraid to claim it. But there is a poetry by Imam Shafi'i, he could claim that. He said, أحب الصالحين ولست منهم. I love the salihin, the pious ones, the awliya, but I am not one of them. Imam Shafi'i was saying that. What about us? He is muhib. Then he was saying to Imam Ahmad, or Imam Ahmad was saying to Yahya ibn Ma'in, don't ask Fudayl ibn Iyad such questions. There was one Sufi that he wanted to test Yahya ibn Ma'in. So the ulama, in relation to the awliya also, they stand at their threshold. Of course, the ilm of the ulama is the ilm of the ahkam of sharia. The ilm of the awliya is ilm of Allah directly. So the ilm of Allah, as Imam Ghazali said in the book of ilm, the first book of Ihya Ulumuddin, there's a difference between the ilm that has Allah as its goal and object and the ilm that has the rulings of Allah and the laws of Allah as its object. It's different. We know about the rulings of Sharia concerning Salah, Siyam, Tahara, Zakah, Hajj, and we know about the rulings concerning what enters one into Islam and the pillars of belief. These are the rulings of the religion. But to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Imam Ghazali was saying, this is a higher object. So in tariqah, the object is calling to the third of the three aspects of the hadith of Sayyidina Gibril when he visited the Prophet ﷺ. He said, what is Islam? What is Iman? What is Ihsan? So Ihsan, that's what Tasawwuf is about, Ihsan. And the whole point is, in terms of Tasawwuf, it's hudur, yani presence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole point is hudur with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how we understand such sayings of the Salaf al-Salih, and it is also a hadith that to reflect for 1 hour is better than worship for 70 years. Because the whole point of worship is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not a mechanical accomplishment of gestures. It is not a recitation of words, parrot-like, no. It is to worship as if you see Allah and to know that He is seeing you. This presence of heart and soul with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the whole point. That's why for Imam Ghazali he was saying, if one is lacking understanding of that or feels that they are lacking sincerity, then tasawwuf is fard ayn for them. It is a categorical obligation for us. That's how we understand that for us to be with the companionship of those who teach us that and who inculcate us with that concept and that reality, so that it becomes part of our person and of our spiritual life, is dearer than anything. That is for us, that is the religion, without which we are still in the most childish level of taqlid and imitation. No, according to some of the scholars, taqlid is not allowed in belief, even belief of unless one is a child. One has to have a direct knowledge of the proofs. And for the Sufis, direct knowledge of the proof is to know that, to worship Allah as if you see Him. To know that if you do not see Him, He sees you. To know at least that He sees you. That's why they say, say, Allahu Nadiri. Allah is looking at me. Allahu Hadiri. Allah is present with me. Allahu Ma'i. Allah is literally with me. Yani closer than our jugular vein, closer than our own self. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as being closer to the believers than their own selves also. Therefore we should not be surprised that we find that our love for Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, for Sayyidina Umar, if we are one of the tabi'een or one of the junior companions, is greater than love of ourselves. Like Sayyidina Anas, for example, he said, I don't have what they did, but I love them. I love Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I love Abu Bakr, I love Umar, I love Uthman, I love Ali. I hope to be with them through that love. So for us, where is that mirror love through which we claim followership of Prophet ﷺ and the believers, like I mentioned in the Quran, and the Sahaba al-Kiram and the Awliya? Mawlana Sheikh is our teacher and our murshid. The lifeline of the religion for a person who is in tariqah is their love for their murshid, their trust for their murshid, and their acceptance of their murshid, their guide, as the door that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has physically put, as a physical door that He has put into their lives, under their nose, with no excuse to say we did not experience better than words on paper. It is, you have seen the reality of رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله, who are constantly in dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the experience that we see when we are with Mawlana Sheikh Nazim, Mawlana Sheikh Hisham as Khalifa. That is what they are inculcating us with through their suhba. wanted to read some pages from one of the books of the Naqshbandi masters, where he gives golden words of advice about the objective of suluk, which is the traveling on the path of tasawwuf. And suluk also is a word for a high model of behavior, spiritual behavior, and the adab of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we are trying to follow, because one of the aspects of tasawwuf is the embodiment of following the sunnah of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, what is the objective of suluk, of wayfaring, or of spiritual discipline? Said, no, O trusted and trustworthy brother who is carrying that secret pearl that is not given to everyone. Yani, saying, this is first of all, it's special knowledge. Don't say that, oh, we are saying that this is secret for some people only and not for others. No. You're saying that you want to take a course for an advanced PhD in physics, you have to travel to take all the previous ones before. We're not saying that that course is only like arcane or secret or hidden. No. So there is a path that you have to travel. And then there is less and less people on that path, because it gets more and more difficult, more and more complicated, more and more demanding. Student, if you want to be a student, Imam Shafi'i said, get ready for poverty. You want to be a student. You need patience. You need to put up with little comfort, long hours, little rest, and must not be jealous of those who have all the pleasures and treasures of life. And don't look right and left. Look at your goal. So same thing in tasawwuf. So it gets, as Fudayl ibn Iyad said, said, don't feel lonely on the path, because you will get lonely if you have less and less people with you. That's what is meant by, I mean, you are reaching for a pearl that is not given to just anyone. That diploma at the end is not given to just everyone. Some people don't get it. Even to enter into the school, sometimes it is difficult. Even to enter, the seat that you get is special. You are already special. So we are not saying that this specialness means that there is secret knowledge that only is hidden from others. It's open for everyone, but who is asking? No one is asking. Very few. So in tasawwuf, the fewest of the few, the fewest of the fewest of the few are asking for that. So he's saying this is a protected pearl. And that's how they defined haqiqah also. Haqiqah is the pearl that you need the ship of sharia over the ocean of tariqah, dive, and to get that pearl of haqiqah. So that ship because sharia is an ocean. And the heart of sharia, that is haqiqah. And vice versa also. The heart of haqiqah is sharia. Perfection of sharia. Embodied in the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So al-ulama warathatul anbiya, the knowers of Allah, the ulama of Allah, are the inheritors of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They are the ones guiding us to irshad. And irshad is like a whole package, an embodiment of the inheritance of the Holy Prophet. It's not just teaching through books and through universities or doctorates or courses or rote learning, memorization. No, it has to be embodiment of the true understanding of the Sharia. Who can claim that nowadays? And the proof of the pudding is that everyone is among all of the different sects and the different groups and the jama'as, everyone is claiming to be following Quran. Everyone is claiming to be following Sunnah. But who is following the correct understanding, the true understanding? That is another thing. We're saying, must know that the whole point of suluk is to obtain hudur qalbi, the presence of your heart with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to cut off all of the khawatir, all of the interference. There is powerful interference. That's how Allah created us with huge, like superpowers in us. They say superhero. Every human being is, they said in Islam that the macrocosm, the larger universe, is the human being actually. Is the human being. Because in every human being, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ, there is a reflection of the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is not given to other species. And among those powers also that we have been given are powers that have two edges, like a sword with two edges. Nafs and hawa. Those are very, very powerful drives in every human being that if they are not corrected, then they drive them to destruction. And they become their God. نفس أمارة وشح متبع, and hawa, which is اتخذ هواه إله. As in Holy Quran, Allah is saying, look at the one who puts what he loves first, instinctively and for his own self, as his God. So if that is corrected, they become your servants. Hawa and dunya and nafs. But if you run after dunya, dunya will run away from you and will despise you. If you run away from dunya, dunya will run after you and will serve you. You run away from it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maulana ran away from it, declared that he doesn't want it, but it came running after it. Who knows Lefka? Maulana put Lefka on the map. Otherwise, why would people from high places, east and west, go there to see who? To see Maulana. Didn't ask for them to come, but they're like, subhanallah. So, and then each one has a qareen of the jinn, a companion of the jinn who is also out of control unless one tames them and controls them. And the angel commands good, but the jinn, not necessarily. But Prophet ﷺ said, mine commands only good, so I'm safe from him. Aslamtu minhu. And there is another wording that says, huwa aslama. My shaitan has become a Muslim. So then hawa, dunya, nafs and shaitan, if they are put in their proper place, then these four do not become opponents of you or big obstacles or destruction, but rather a help. And the most important of them is the nafs. And it becomes the strongest helper. That's why they said that the problem is itself the solution. If one knows that, in tariqat, you take the problem and you turn it into the solution, which is self-control. But self-control in tariqah has criteria. So inqita' al-khawatir, to cut off the interference. And one of the most powerful tools, of course, is zikr. That is agreed upon among all of the Sufi shuyukh and the awliya, that zikr is powerful sword to cut off interference. فحفظ الأنفاس من الخواطر عين المقصود. So the preservation of souls or of breaths also. أنفاس, plural of nafs or the plural of nafas, meaning the breath. To preserve that from interference is the essence of your objective. عين المقصود. والاجتناب عن الغفلة, and to avoid heedlessness. Heedlessness, to say things without thinking, to act without thinking. Avoiding that. من أعظم العبادات. Just that in itself is among the greatest of ibadah. So avoiding, protecting oneself from the interference of dunya, hawa, nafs and shaitan, and to protecting oneself from heedlessness and indifference, that in itself is ibadah. We have not even begun to say la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and salat and salawat. He said, and this is what I wanted to reach, فَإِنَّ نَفَسًا وَاحِدًا, one single breath, بِالْحُضُورِ, with presence of heart, as Prophet ﷺ said, أَن تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَاهُ, to worship Allah as if you see Him. So he's saying, if you can just reach one breath in your life, one breath, you have breathe one breath in and out, with that presence of heart, بِالْحُضُورِ خَيْرٌ من دوام العبادات في ظرف 1000 سنة بلا حضور. Better than 1,000 years of worship without that presence of heart. Allah. And who knows when Allah will send us that moment, that breath. Who knows when we can obtain it. Who knows in what moment of the day or the night. What state of our body or our mind. In what state of weakness, of complete surrender, helplessness, or in a state of hope for the forgiveness of Allah, in a state of inkisar, of like a broken-heartedness. Certainly not in a state of arrogance, certainly not in a state of self-sufficiency, of self-contentment, of self-complacency, that I'm okay and I have nothing to ask for forgiveness for. No, that's not how it's. Because then Allah will say, you gave yourself your own reward, you do not need me. But we are all in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For every moment, every breath, and every cell of our being. But we are veiled from that. So he's saying, look, remove that veil, think of that breath, that single breath, where you have presence of heart, that is better for you than 1,000 years of ibadah without presence. Subhanallah. And then he says, there is one murid, he was in khalwah, in seclusion, for a whole year. Who can take even one day of seclusion nowadays? One day of true seclusion nowadays. He would run away, run out. He was in seclusion for a whole year. He came out of seclusion with the order of his Sheikh, said, now it's finished. Come on. And then after a while he went and he spoke with his Sheikh. He said, oh my Sheikh, I didn't see anything. I didn't experience anything. I didn't have any kashf. I didn't have any karamat. The Sheikh looked at him. SubhanAllah, I have not seen anyone in my experience in my life that has more kashf than you. He said, how my Sheikh? The Sheikh said, I saw you during that year, the whole year. إني لم أرى أحدا أكشف منك. I never saw anyone that has more kashf than you. فقد. وقفتك بين يدي الله تعالى سنة كاملة. For one whole year I stood you and I was standing with you in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Sheikh, he could see that and he kept it in his heart until the student who wanted something to be brought out and shown in the open made him reveal that. And the student was not seeing it because he was not ready, but he was there. And that is the state of someone who takes bay'ah with Mawlana Sheikh Nazim. When that belief reaches their heart that they want to take bay'ah, they don't know why, but they feel that they are in a safe place, they feel they are in a pure place, in a good place, better place than on their own, by themselves. They come to Mawlana Sheikh and they give their trust. But then giving their trust, then understandings differ before and during and after that bay'ah. So the more we progress, the less outward karamat, the more inward karamat. What is the inward karamat? Istiqamah. That is what they are asking for in this tariqah. دوام الاستقامة, يعني regular, continuous, uninterrupted, and istiqamah that makes you reach through the routine of obedience and the unexciting everyday surrender to Allah and sacrifice of what our soul, what our nafs is wanting to know, put it back on the right track. And this is what suluk is. And the technical suluk also is khalwah. So suluk and khalwah technically are synonymous. Tariqat. They say, I want to make suluk this Ramadan. It's a good time. Awliya, they love Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan for suluk. And they say, make suluk. Ramadan is like the easiest time for suluk, because already they are fasting. So keeping Salatul Jama'ah, reading Quran, making a khatm of Quran, or a khatm of tafsir at the same time also. So you're saying, what greater karama? فأي كرامة أعظم من الوقوف بين يدي الله تعالى سنة كاملة? What greater karama is there than to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a whole year? And then the murid at that time realized, so, that is enough for a whole lifetime to reflect upon it. That you are not just anywhere on your own, but after 20 years we understand what perhaps someone told us from the first time. You know, Maulana, when he puts his head down in sajda, he puts it down at the foot of the throne. There is awliya, they put down their sajda, they are in front of Kaaba. There is awliya, they're in front of the Kaaba of the heavens. There's awliya in front of the Kaaba Qawsayn or Adna, awliya in front of the throne. We believe that, we accept that, even if we do not see it with our eyes, but we know that it is a reality, just as we know that فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ, if you do not see him subhanahu wa ta'ala, you must know that he sees you. That he sees you. Every time Suhba ends and I realize that it was too serious, and Maulana always was saying, you're so stupid to always be serious, and people are bored if you are too serious. They want to laugh, they want to something light. And I promise myself every time I must, but subhanallah, one is standing on pins and needles, and Suhba, I want to say something that's special, that if Maulana has a special place in our heart, and that heart is, we have to be watchful and careful what we say. But I was thinking of an anecdote that I heard in Sham more than once, in Damascus. Damascus is always on our mind these days. Allah protect them, all of that country and all of the people that are suffering in any country. But especially there in the land of Sham, in the land of Awliya and Anbiya, that was so dear to the Prophet ﷺ, that he mentioned it in more than 40 hadiths about Sham. And he called it Ardul Mahshar wal Manshar, the land where resurrection will take place and the judgment. It will be expanded in order to contain everyone. That place, that holy land, all of Sham. How is it defined? In Tafsir al-Razi, he mentions that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was commanded to go up Mount Lebanon. And you know why they called it Lebanon? Because it is Laban, like white. Laban is the name for milk. It's milky white. So he went up, and when he reached the summit, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, look, everywhere your eyes reach, that is holy. Everywhere your eye reaches, that is holy. I mean, the holy, all of this is holy. So that's also defined as the lands of Sham, meaning from the south of Turkey to all the way to Sinai, and from the end of Hijaz all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. It's much wider than we think. So Sham is so special. And I heard so many times Hajj Naziha say that Maulana Sheikh said that Grand Sheikh would say that even to sleep in Sham is ibadah. To sleep in Sham is ibadah. So they would say this story that there was a lesson that was taking place in the Grand Mosque of Damascus. You know, every one of those big cities, Damascus, Aleppo, they have a Grand Mosque that was built in the time of the Umayyads. It is known also as the Umayyad Mosque of Damascus, the Umayyad Mosque of Aleppo. But the original name for it is the Great Mosque, Al-Jami' Al-Kabir. Jami' Dimashq Al-Kabir, that is the Umayyad Mosque. So there was a class taking place, and I think Sheikh Badruddin Hassani, one of the great Shuyukh and Awliya of Damascus, from the family of Holy Prophet originally from Morocco, who's the people of Syria, they call him Al-Muhaddith Al-Akbar, the greatest Muhaddith. Yani in modern times, in our times. He died maybe over 100 years ago. So he was explaining something, and he was saying to the teacher, to the students, did you understand? And the student said no. So he explained again. Did you understand now? He said no, I still don't understand. Again and again, 5 times, 6 times. Still don't understand. So in the end, the teacher asked him, my son, what's the matter that you don't understand? How come you don't understand? My words are too complicated, or is your mind elsewhere, or something? And the student, he wanted to be humble. He said, oh, I don't know, I feel I'm like a donkey, my sheikh, my teacher. Maybe I'm a donkey. I don't understand, I have limits. So he said, oh, don't praise yourself. Donkey is very useful. Donkey carries huge loads. Donkey is very strong, very patient, eats very little and very rough. And beat it, and still goes on even at an advanced age till it just dies under its burden. Donkey, not like that. So this was a Sufi thing to say. Look, if we do not choose our words carefully, then people might say, oh look, Sufis, they say you have to be a donkey, or there was in Indonesia, this is what happened. And some followers, they misunderstood or they misreported. Like Maulana Sheikh Hisham was saying one time, they were saying, about this and that, animals. Animals have their place. Allah mentions so many animals in the Holy Quran. How many animals? Approximately. 10? 20? 25? 30? 34? 33? 33. The ant, النمل, Surah Al-Naml. The donkey, the bees, Surah Al-Nahl, camels, elephant, Surah Al-Fil, Al-Ankabut, the spider, Surah Al-Ankabut. There's many words for camels actually. The cow, Surah Al-Baqarah. Fish, حوت, حيتان, اللحم طري. إن الله لا يستحي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها. And they explained here, بعوضة is like even smaller than a mosquito, gnat. فما فوقها meaning فما دونها, and even something smaller than that even. Allah can mention that, even smaller than that. Dharra, for example, Dharra, which is another name for Naml. But Dharra became the modern name for atom. And a very, very small ant, extremely small ant. The fly also, Lubab. Allah used the fly to show the powerlessness of human beings. So anyway, what about the dog in the Holy Quran? Is it a positive or a negative image?
Kitmir.
Huh?
Kitmir.
Kitmir. That's a positive image. Kitmir. Yani the name of Kitmir is not mentioned by name in the Quran, but it is like in the histories of the other heavenly books or communities, they mention that his name was Kitmir, which is the companion of the people of the cave. وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَاعَيْهِ فِي الْوَصِيدِ. So Ibn Kathir, he has some beautiful words about this Kitmir. But why Allah is mentioning it? Ibn Kathir, he says in his tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf, said their blessing, the blessing of Ahl al-Kahf, the seven people and their dog, said their blessing encompassed the dog also. Because of their blessing, and the dog happened to be with them, he was included in their blessing. So like them, he slept in that state. Which state? The state of miraculous preservation. The miraculous preservation, and because they stayed there for years and years, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would turn them over from side to side, so that their bodies would not be in a dangerous state of non-circulation of the blood or whatever. So, subhanallah, even the comfort of the sleeper, Allah is turning them over, mentioning that detail in the Holy Quran, from one side to the other, from one and that side, okay, back again, for whatever, 100 years. And the dog also is sleeping there, no food, and not in discomfort of hot and cold or of famine. So the dog is included in the miracle of the people of God. This is a detail that we have to pay attention to. And Ibn Kathir is saying, this is what happened. And then he says, such is the benefit of keeping company with the best people. Even for... And what he says here in this Naqshbandi Masters, saying, don't think that Sheikh will put you in khalwah, in seclusion and suluk, because you have now reached an advanced state, or you are now advanced, deserving of, or special. No. You must think of yourself that if she puts you in suluk, that you are like a rabid dog that needs to be put away, preserve people from his harm, from the harm of that dog. That is what suluk is for any, because that wild ego is so wild, so destructive, so out of control, so chronic and pathological that it needs a shock treatment. It needs isolation wards. Ya subhanallah. That's how we have to think of ourselves, as truly chronically sick and under dire need of emergency help. That's what the khalwah is. He's saying, Kalb aqur, rabid dog, put into khalwah to preserve, to save people from his harm if he's left outside, harming people too much. So, saying now, Ibn Kathir is saying about the dog of the people of Kahf, says, such is the benefit of keeping company with the best people. Keeping company with the best people with the niyyah of khalwah, even 1 hour, Allah will write it for us as a khalwah. It's a khalwah that will cleanse us. That was promised by Holy Prophet ﷺ to Mawlana Grand Sheikh, from what we have heard from our shuyukh, from Mawlana Sheikh Nazim, from Mawlana Sheikh Hisham. And then Ibn Kathir says, behold, that dog is now celebrated, famed, and held in high esteem. Held in high esteem, of course. Because look, we know even the name of the dog, you might put it on the wall even, with the companion of Ahl Kahf in traditional Islamic societies such as Brunei. And Maulana Sheikh has written that with his own handwriting. And he said, if you put it in the house, traditionally and by experience of the awliya, they said that the house will be preserved from theft and from fire, insha'Allah, with the blessing of Ahlul Kahf, because they were in safety for 100 years with nothing to guard them except the mercy of Allah enveloping them like a mother enveloping her child and feeding. And then the bad example of the dog in the Holy Quran is the one that, after the example of the person who left religion from Bani Israel, said in Salakha min ayatina, he came out of our signs like a snake coming out of its skin. And then he says his example is like the dog. If you approach him, he pants, and if you leave him alone, he pants. He still pants. He's still wild, no matter what. So that's so it could be there is a blessing, then there is. And nowadays, now we live in a time where even a human being, we also have to be careful, because that's the words of Maulana Sheikh Nazim, where he said that the amana of humanity has been abandoned, so that we do not know what we have in front of us, a human being or a wolf that is trying to devour us in part or in whole, take something from us, to rob us blind if they can, without a second thought, is right or wrong or halal or haram. And that might be sad to say, but person claiming to have belief, person not claiming to have belief. It's irrelevant. So Maulana is saying we live in such a time where we surrender. We are in the lutf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people in Sham now, I heard from one of them, he said, believe it or not, lutf of Allah is even more than the punishment that we are experiencing. We're feeling the punishment, feeling the destruction and the dogs of war unleashed. And we never know what, when will happen. But still lutf from every side, he said. From every side reaching us. SubhanAllah. We don't know how. We don't know how the people of Kahf, we don't know how the child in the womb is protected. We don't know how in the grave we will be protected. But we accept, we believe. And we ask for the lutf of Allah always. Ya Rabbi, Ya Latif, altif bina bi altafika al-khafiyya wa al-jaliyya, altif bina Ya Latif. Anta al-Latif, Anta Latifun lam tazal, altif bina وبأمة سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بلطفك الخفي والجلي يا ربي يا الله بألطافك أدخلنا كنف ألطافك الخفية والجلية يا رب العالمين واجعلنا من عبادك الشاكرين على الدوام ظاهرا وباطنا ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا. Don't leave us to ourselves, our ignorant wild self يا رب يا الله, but keep us always in a good company, Ya Rabbi Allah. Not in the company of ourselves, but in a good company, Ya Rabbi Allah. Wherever we are, however you turn us to a good direction, Ya Rabbi Allah. حيثما وجهتنا وجهنا إلى الخير. الخير كله نرجو من ربنا. We hope for every goodness from our Lord, and our Lord is more generous than our hope. We hope for every goodness, and He is more generous than that, Ya Rabbi. And you are as we expect of you, you are that and more. And Allah عند حسن ظن عبده به Ya Rabbi Allah. So we ask you to protect us, protect our beloved ones, and to bless Maulana Sheikh Nazim with long life and good health. Ya Rabbi Allah, Maulana Sheikh Hisham and their families, and all those who are connected to them, to all awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, present and past, Ya Rabbi Allah, and to let us be with them, Ya Rabbi Allah, and let us be with you and with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we have this wild hope, that we love you and we love Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That it make it real for us, and do not leave us to an empty claim, but rather to a true claim, Ya Rabbi Allah. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.